Let's go ahead and jot this down as another review that I didn't think I would ever make. Over the last couple of months, I've recently gotten to the sport of Formula One thanks to a good friend of mine, and I chose Ferrari as my team of choice. Totally not painful at all to watch at times. But when F125 was announced, I figured what better time to jump in and experience my first Formula One game at launch. I've been playing F124 through the Game Pass app, but nothing really too much, just about 25 hours total played, and most of that time was played with my friend in a career mode. Well, after 40 hours in F125, I think this is a great step up from year to year, but I also say that as someone who is new to the franchise and the series. Here in F125, the improvements that were made can be felt and heard almost instantly. With better sounding cars and better handling, the driving has never felt better than ever. You also have countless modes for you to try out, like the standard driver career or the F1 Tour career, or maybe you want to control and design every aspect of a newly formed Formula One team. Or if you're looking for something a little more story driven, you can check out Breaking Point 3, which follows the story of Connorsport, a fictional 11th team in the sport of Formula One. And to top it all off, you have 5 newly scanned LiDAR tracks that aim to bring nearly identical recreations of those tracks from the real world into the game world. And while F125 is another yearly release, Codemasters has tried to improve on this game from a technical and a gameplay side, and here in this review, I'll lay out what you can expect if you do decide to pick up the game.
You watch her go. And to the checker flag for one final time. That is some race from Callie Mayer. What an incredible performance by her today. Connorsport sure will be very delighted with that one.
As I do with all my reviews, I like to give a little bit of a technical block. I went ahead and I played F125 on PC, running an i7-13700K with an RTX 4080 at 1440p with all the settings at their max values, path tracing enabled, DLSS set to quality, frame generation on. I'll just say this right now, going from F124 to F125 on back-to-back days was wild to see the comparisons between the two games. At first, they might not look all that much different, but the more and more you start to look at F125, you start to see just how much better it is. This point is even made more true when you're going around one of the 5 LiDAR scan tracks: Bahrain, Miami, Melbourne, Suzuka, and Imola. The entire tracks have been scanned with millions of data points that have formed its recreation here within the game. You can see a big graphical jump with a lot of details around the track and the surrounding areas. I will say the performance on these tracks with all the settings cranked up was about 50 to 60 FPS without frame generation on. It did go to around 100 with it enabled, but just keep that in mind. The game also does have a VR mode that you can try out like past releases. That is something that does depend on your VR headset and your rig. There really isn't that much more to talk about when it comes to the technical performance. The game ran great for me, but I always do recommend that if you are curious about a game, it's always best to look up a few videos with comparable specs to yours so that you at least have an idea of how it would run and what you'd be looking at. And if you're curious, there is a 5-hour trial on EA Play available if you want to give the game a shot for yourself. So like I mentioned, this is the first time that I'd ever purchased a Formula One game at release. So I want to give you a rundown of all the different modes that you can find available here within the game. We'll go ahead and we'll start out with the mode that I was expecting the least out of, and that was Breaking Point. That follows Connorsport, its drivers, and the people that make up the team. What I thought was going to be a pretty cliche story with bad acting actually turned out to be a pretty solid story that went a little bit deeper emotionally than what I was expecting, although still had some cliche moments. Driving the car is one of the many things that you'll be doing here in this mode, but you'll also be managing the drivers of Aiden Jackson and Callie Mayer, choosing whether or not they get extra time in the simulator, or do you want them to fulfill sponsorship obligations. Well, the majority of this is going to be pretty scripted in one way or another. It does offer up a few interesting choices and scenarios that you'll be pressed with. The races themselves also have objectives, like obviously winning the race, but you also get dynamic challenges that'll pop up where you need to react to something that's happened on the track or trying to hold a position due to something that happened. And depending if you complete that objective, you'll level up your reputation and driver status, in turn unlocking different dialogue options in conversations. The mode isn't too deep, but it does a good job at teaching you a lot of the things that can go on within a Formula One race and how to approach them, like how to drive when a safety car is deployed, or how to handle wet weather, a damaged wing, so on and so forth. It's honestly just a fun little mode that you can hop into, and personally, I was pretty surprised by how much I ended up liking the main story, even though, like I said, it does get a little cliche at times. It's going to take you like 5 to 6 hours to get through the whole thing, but I think it's worth it if you're new to the sport like I am, or you're just wanting to finish out that main story. Then you have the career mode, which is pretty identical. I mean, almost the exact same to last year's release, with you being able to choose any of the main drivers on the grid and step into their shoes for the Formula One season. Or you can go ahead and create one of your own drivers or play as one of the drivers from the Formula One movie. A little bit more on that later. It's a pretty basic mode, and it really does beg the question, if this is the case, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I really do think this mode needs a shot in the arm for the next installment. Yeah, you can upgrade parts and materials for your car, you can change teams, sign contracts, but you basically have the same intro cutscene once again that you can't skip, by the way. And there's no real depth to your choices or the things that you're doing within that mode, which is pretty apparent when you get to the next mode. Which brings us to arguably the mode that has gotten the most amount of additions and improvements, with the MyTeam mode. Here, you're allowed to take full control of one Formula One team of your choice. So if you want to play as Connor Sport from Breaking Point or Apex GP from the Formula One movie, you can go ahead and you can do that. You can also create your own custom team, custom logo, and design every aspect of that car and then build that up. Here in MyTeam, you're able to control every facet and every detail of your team, from the drivers that you want to assign to how much upgrades are going to cost and how you're going to go about paying for those upgrades. Then team resources, team facilities. You're also even going to have a skill tree that you can upgrade so that you can further progress your career as the owner of the team. This is going to be your franchise mode that lets you do whatever you want, whenever you want. So if you want to go somewhere and gut the entire team, sign new drivers, that's something entirely that you can do. If you think a driver deserves more upgrades than another, that's something you can do. Or maybe spending all your reserve cash on some upgrades for your facilities. The goal is to put you into the shoes of being the owner and the decision maker. And the depth of this mode is something that I'm glad they put a little bit more effort into this time. Because based on what I can see, the last game didn't nearly have as much depth as it does here, and I'm hoping they keep adding and building upon it in the further iterations and applying the same approach to other modes within the game. The mode that I've personally been spending the most amount of time with has been the F1 World. You start out with a basic car in the F1 circuit. Going to be just a low tech level car, not really much going on, but the more and more that you race, the more and more that you play, the more you'll start to earn upgrades and different mods that you can slot into this car. Maybe you find a better gearbox or engine, but these parts will unlock different tiers of race challenges for you to do. Sometimes you'll be tasked with a short 5-lap sprint, and then the game will drop a 25 lapper in the full rain. But you're doing this all to level up a license and build up your career, allowing you to access more challenges and objectives across the map. From time trials to sprint races, there's tons of different events that you could choose from here within this mode. Here in F1 World is where you're going to be able to express yourself with a lot of customization items that you unlock and earn throughout your time in the game. You can design your car, you can change the colors on your fire suit and accessories. I do like this progression mode within the game because the more and more you win, the more races that you complete, the more challenges you complete, you will progressively feel that car start to handle better. And over just a lot of time, it's going to get better, it's going to get quicker. And it's nice to notice a change as you start to unlock. It's more gratifying that way, in my opinion. There is a multiplayer side of things you can hop into as well with online races, but I've not had great luck the past couple of times with some disconnections, and then at least one person every race is going to try to Max Verstappen you at the corner. So if you like the sense of progression and grind, this might be the mode for you to check out, as I can see it's something that you could easily sink hundreds of hours into alone. And lastly, we have the F1 movie tie-in, which is included with the Icon edition of the game. This mode sees you playing as Sonny Hayes, aka Brad Pitt's character, completing challenges and goals that resemble moments from the movie. There are 7 of these in total, and once you complete them all, you'll gain access to Sonny's helmet as a customization item within F1 World. The other thing that you unlock with this pack is the ability to use Apex GP, the team from the movie, and have them as an 11th team in the championship series, either with completely new drivers or having the drivers from the movie taking on the likes of the rest of the field. While I don't think this pack is necessarily something to have, it is a really cool incentive because you get to use them in those team modes, as well as an ability to get a glimpse at the movie, as there are scenes from it spliced into those different scenarios. There is a little bit of a preview that you can play right now to get a little bit of a taste of what's to come, but all 7 scenarios will be available on June 30th after the release of the movie in theaters. So keep your eyes peeled if that is something that interests you. So as someone who is new to the sport, do I think that buying F1 25 is worth the $60 asking price for the base edition or the $80 for the Icon edition? I would say that if you haven't picked up the game in the past couple of years, it's more than likely something you'll be okay with dropping that money on. The changes might feel more impactful this go around if you haven't played in a while. Where if you're a diehard fan year in, year out buying this game, I could see how this is essentially just another title in the series with some minor improvements. Sports games have sort of reached this plateau where graphics themselves are just so damn good and they really can't go any higher, so they really need to focus on the gameplay and the core elements. What keeps the players engaged for as long as possible? All the different modes available are easily something that you can lose hundreds of hours to, with a fun narrative like Breaking Point that teaches you the ropes and gives you a well-acted yet sometimes cliche story. Then the career mode allows you to step into the shoes of your favorite driver and race a season as them, or create your own driver. Or do you prefer a more hands-on approach where you control every aspect of a team with the newly revamped MyTeam? It's a great package, but I'm not quite sure it's something I can just recommend to anyone off the street. If you are a fan of Formula One, I think this is easily a solid entry, but if you aren't entirely sold on the graphical improvements or gameplay tweaks, waiting for a sale might be the right move if the older games are serving you just fine. If you did enjoy the video, consider dropping it a like and subscribing so you can catch all my upcoming reviews and previews. I might have a couple smaller videos the rest of the month. There isn't really anything too big. I know Mind's Eye just released. I think FBC Firebreak is another one. And then we've got Death Stranding at the end of the month. I don't have a review code for that, but I will be playing it once it releases on the 24th, I believe. So keep an eye out if you're interested in that one. And as always, if you did make it this far, I just want to say thank you for taking the time out of your day. And this has been my review for F1 25. Thank you for watching.